Hi, good morning. I'm Dr. Gorwin. So this is my first time with biochemistry, so bear with me. So I'm more of a clinician rather than academician. So basically my focus is more on your enzyme kinetics, like your Kelly's constants and your lines how you can from it. Or if you have questions, I'll try my best. If not, if I can answer myself, so our body is governed by a bunch of biochemical reactions. So basically there are two independent factors that govern our biochemical reaction. First is your change in your free energy of your reaction, and second would be the rate. So the rate is actually based on the number of enzymes that are in your reaction, while your delta G, or your Gibbs free energy, is the one that's responsible in telling us which direction our reaction would proceed. So in other words, you could get this by measuring the change in energy between product formation minus the change in energy of your substrates, or by simply just by measuring your measuring the concentration of your substrates and your the product and your substrates rather. So basically, your delta G measures the energy from the points of your initial reaction to your final state. So your reaction is actually modeled by a two-step process wherein your enzyme would bind your substrate, forming your enzyme substrate complex, and then after which it would dissociate to form your enzyme and your product. So your reaction, the relationship between your reaction and your energy is best described by your reaction coordinate diagram. So here in your So basically, if your delta G is negative, what does it mean? So the concentration of your product is so your
Hindi more product, more energy.
again. So if you look at this reaction, so I'll just discuss this. If you look at your the energy for your the measurement of your substrate, so you have more substrate compared to your product. So what happens to your delta G? Your delta G is negative, positive, negative. So it favors the formation of your product. So basically, similar to diffusion, it moves from an area of higher gradient to an area of lower gradient. So the difference of your delta G, the difference between your change in free energy of reaction would be this one. But normally, for a reaction to proceed, so as we mentioned, your enzyme and your substrate would form a complex, and this is usually a high energy intermediate state known as your transition state. So it's like climbing a hill. When you climb a hill, you exert more energy, right? So this would the energy between your transitions, the formation of your transition state would be known as your activation energy. So this is the energy that your reaction has to overcome in order to produce your product. So where does your enzyme come into play? So it lowers your activation energy. So if you're climbing a hill on your own, so how would you want to lower your activation energy? You'll try to like probably build a tunnel. So making it easier for you to move from one point to your other point. So if so basically this favors your reaction to be spontaneous. So if your reaction point from A and moves reaction point from A is here, and then C would be at the same line as A. So what does it say about your free energy? So 0. So it is at equilibrium. So your reaction is reversible. So what are enzymes? These are actually biochemical catalysts. They're actually mostly made up of proteins. So they increase as mentioned, they increase the rate of your reaction by decreasing the activation energy. And by doing this, they stabilize your transition state. So once your substrate and your enzyme would combine together, they undergo a conformational change during catalysis. And this conformational change is actually best described by your induced fit model, wherein it's like if you have, it's like your hand fitting into a glove, basically. But then at the end of once your enzyme substrate would dissociate, your enzyme would remain unchanged. So it does not affect at all the free energy of the reaction, but only affects the energy of activation. So different types of catalysis. So you have your catalysis by proximity and orientation. So wherein molecules that forming this molecules need to be within bond forming distance to one another for your reaction to take place. And once your enzyme substrate complex at the is formed at the active site, it creates a region of high local substrate concentration. Next is your catalysis by strain, wherein there's some structural rearrangement during your enzyme substrate binding, and then it produces a substrate bonds, which is usually weak bond and would lead to the formation of your product. So covalent catalysis, wherein your catalytic residues inside your active site of enzyme is responsible for forming temporary weak covalent bonds. And your acid-base catalysis, wherein you have your ionizable functional groups or aminoacyl side chains and prosthetic groups which act as acid and base. So I think someone had a question regarding the general base and base acid catalysis and your specific. Yes, so I had a hard time looking into that, and someone has a good idea.
Good morning. My idea about general acid base is the pH of any acid or base that contributes to the pH of the medium, wherein the enzyme is having its action affects the enzyme. However, for the specific one, it considers the presence of specific enzyme, like example siguro, it would be acetic acid or other examples.
Okay, so that's your general idea. So, next we have the Michaelis-Menten equation. So basically, it follows the two-step process or model of reaction wherein your enzyme and your substrate would bind together, forming your ES, and you have the coefficient of your reaction would be your K1, and your ES would then dissociate to form your enzyme and your product, which is your K2, and the reverse would be in negative. So from this equation, so Michaelis and Mentling decided to determine the relationship of your substrate concentration with regards to your the rate of your enzymatic activity. So this is the formula that they derived. Unfortunately, I could not understand the mathematical process directly. For basically, this is that when your velocity is equal to your Vmax and your multiplied your substrate concentration over your Km plus your substrate. So Vmax would be the maximum velocity. So it is the point at which your enzyme is saturated, wherein Km would be your halfway through the saturation, wherein 50% of your enzyme active site is found at your substrate. Another way of looking at it would be Km would be the ratio between your dissociation constant and over your formation constant. So that would be, so if you look into this model reaction, so your Km would be the ratio between your dissociation constant, so that would be your K minus 1 plus K plus 2 over your K1. And K2, so from this formula, so they derived this theory. So first, if the concentration of your substrate is increased, is less than the Km, so your velocity is said to be proportionate to your enzyme. So if you look at this curve, so from point A to point B, you would notice that your enzymatic reaction is increasing in a linear fashion. So as you increase your substrates, your enzyme substrate complex increases in proportionate to your substrate concentration, and this is called your first order kinetics. So next, if your substrate concentration is greater than your Km, so your your velocity is set to be at Vmax. Sorry. So here. So meaning your so basically your enzyme is fully saturated, so no matter how much you increase your substrate concentration, your rate of reaction remains the same. So this follows your zero order kinetics. And point B would be your Vmax, your Km, so which is the substrate concentration at half the Vmax. So if we look at this plot, if your Km is the substrate concentration at half the Vmax, so increasing your substrate, your Km would lead to. So what's the relationship to affinity? So increasing Km would lead to increase affinity. So it would mean that your substrate has to be So what will you do with your substrate? So basically, if your Km is increased, so it means you need a higher substrate in order to form applies vice versa. So the Lineweaver plot actually plots your Michaelis constant in a Michaelis constant model in a linear fashion. So everything is inverse. So your velocity, the formula is inverse, and this is the derivation. Wherein your initial velocity, the reciprocal of your initial velocity would be in your y-intercept, and your km and over the Vmax would be equal to your slope, and then the reciprocal of your substrate concentration would be along your x-intercept, and then your 1 over Vmax would be equal to your, not x-intercept, but rather your, along your horizontal line, well, the 1 over Vmax would be your, along your y-intercept, sorry. So this is how they derive the equation. So it comes out in a linear form. So this is actually useful when you have different drugs like that would inhibit certain enzymatic reactions. So so we have your two types of drug inhibitions. You have competitive and your non-competitive. So basically, what is a competitive type of inhibition? So it binds to an active site. So its structure is quite similar to your substrate. So if it binds to your active site, what happens to the affinity of your enzyme? Decreases. So your Km is increases. So it means that you would need. How would you overcome the reaction? So if you were to plot this in your Michaelis constant, so diagram. So this would be your competitive inhibitor. So your Vmax remains the same, right? And then your Km is decreasing. So for your non-competitive inhibition, so basically your what happens in your non-competitive inhibition? So your inhibitor would bind to which part of your reaction? The substrate, or could be at your enzyme substrate site, which is separate from your active site. So this actually modifies the formation of your enzyme. So therefore, what happens to your Vmax? So it's lowered, and your Km would be remain unchanged. So still, some substrate would still bind to your active site, but then the activity of your enzyme is already altered by your inhibitor. So it's only your so the activity is changed. So if you were to plot this, so your Vmax is here decreased, while your Km would remain unchanged. So in your show the graph. Sorry, I didn't have the graph for your Lineweaver plot. So if this was if we were to plot your competitive inhibitor, so how would it look like? So your if it's a competitive inhibitor, your Km, your Vmax is unchanged, right? So this will still be here, but your Km is set to be higher, so it's closer to your 0. So it becomes more positive. And then if this was a non-competitive inhibitor, so your Km point, so your start is here, and your Bmax would be lower. So would it be shifted to your here? To your, is it shifted down or up? So shifted up. So someone said about uncompetitive, not, yeah, uncompetitive behavior. What you call this inhibitor? So what's an uncompetitive inhibitor? Mhm. So your uncompetitive inhibitor acts both as your like a competitive and your non-competitive inhibitor. So it actually binds to your which part of your reaction. So it binds to your complex. So it loses a conformational change. So it has both properties of your competitive and non-competitive. So meaning your Km would be, so the affinity for the enzyme would be altered. So what happens? Km would be decreased, or changed. What? So does it affect affinity, I mean the active site? What? So you're
I think the KM will be decreased as well as the Vmax, because what's unique about the uncompetitive is that yeah, as what was mentioned, it acts like a non-competitive inhibitor and it binds to the enzyme substrate complex. And addition of the substrate in that one type of inhibition will only worsen the inhibition. Your Km will decrease as well as your Vmax. So it will the line will shift to the left. Parallel.
so it's parallel to your So do you have questions? Like it's still like for me it's also a little bit blurry. So